Hi. Thank you so much. Thanks, Simon, for inviting me and making this all possible. So imagine if your job made you a better person. Specifically, imagine if the basic units of your day, the phone calls, the emails, the meetings, and the presentations, imagine if doing that work made you a better parent, partner, and friend. Think about how good that would feel. Hold on to that feeling. So this is how we're going to use the next 10 minutes. I'm going to tell you some stories, share a little bit of research to suggest to you that the workplace of the future will be designed to manufacture empathy. I'll suggest to you that this workplace is not only possible, but very probable. And finally, I'm going to teach you a tool that you can use immediately to start transforming your workplace, whatever that looks like, into an empathy factory. Sound good? Okay. Story time. So as Simon said, my first career was as a lawyer. I worked at a big law firm in New York City. This is a picture of my desk. I still remember my first day, Monday morning, my first assignment. My boss asked me to research some obscure legal question and write a memo, due 10 o'clock Friday morning. Do you remember your first assignment, your first big job, all that nervous energy and excitement? Yeah? I ran back to my office like the world depended on this memo. I stayed late every night. I canceled plans. I was stressed. I was determined that this would be the best ever memo. I even worked all night on Thursday, went home at like 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday to shower, change, present myself back at the office, deliver my masterpiece at 10 a.m. My boss took one look and said, "This is 10 pages. I need 2. You have an hour to fix it." My boss's face, I can still feel my hopes being crushed. Now, with 10 years of hindsight, I see now that what happened here was a failure of empathy. My boss completely failed to appreciate how much work must have gone into producing that memo, right? All the late nights, the stress. And so he ended up giving me feedback that was reasonable, but left me feeling unseen, demoralized, totally unappreciated, right? Now I see some people nodding like this is familiar, this has happened to you. So here's a question. Does everybody see the other failure of empathy in this situation? Right. Mine, yeah. Think about what happened here. How is my boss supposed to know how hard I worked, right? I didn't see him between Monday and Friday when I showed up to hand in the memo. And actually, the last thing I did before seeing him was go home, shower, change, basically do everything I could to hide how hard I'd been working, right? It's like I put on a disguise and then got angry that he didn't see me, right? Which is crazy, but I still felt it. So the point of this story is to highlight a particular workplace challenge, right? The failure to recognize other people's expectations. Basically that other people aren't you, right? They have different experience of the world, they care about different stuff, they know different stuff. All right, now this is clearly true for your own boss, right? Your colleagues, your staff, and certainly your clients and your customers. And while you can probably imagine how being better at navigating people's expectations is important for flourishing in the workplace, what you might not appreciate is that that skill set is increasingly important to just staying employed. Now we come to the research part of the talk. Last year, in 2017, the McKinsey Global Institute released a study that suggested approximately 1/3 of the work done every day by knowledge workers, so me, people in the Symposium, most of you, that up to 1/3 of that work could be automated with currently available technology. So not whatever Elon Musk is dreaming about, but stuff that you could buy and use today. All right? I think John actually talked about this study in the first talk of the day. And so the reason that up to 1/3 of our work could be automated is that it turns out most of what we do every day, right, including for knowledge workers, involves data entry, data processing, and data analysis. And I don't just mean simple Simon admin type stuff, right? Do you remember that research memo I did for my boss? So most of that work is already automated. In fact, there are 3 legal tech companies within 5 kilometers of this stage that I built software that can do most of what was then my job as a first-year lawyer, right? And that's a job that requires multiple university degrees. So what does it look like when a third of your job can be automated? Well, it could be that you now have a third more time to go out and interact with your clients, or it means that your company's existing client book can be serviced with 1/3 fewer people. And just to put that into context, that means if all of us here today were working at the same company, everyone in the first 5 rows is fired. Nothing personal. So that's the bad news, right? The good news is that the study also reported that a skill set particularly or not susceptible to automation is managing people, right? Getting better at that interaction that I had with my boss, all right? And the even better news is that we can all get better at that interaction. How? Through the magic of neuroplasticity. What the heck does that mean? So neuroplasticity is what my father would call a 25-cent word. It just means your brain's capacity to acquire new habits and skills over time, right? Including empathy. Because what is empathy really, right? It's recognizing other people and imagining their mental and emotional landscape, right? We all know how to do this. The question is, why don't we do it more often, right? Why is that interaction I had with my boss so common? Well, it turns out that empathy takes effort, right? It is much easier for your brain to project your understanding of the world onto other people than it is to imagine what might be going on for them, right? Imagination takes more energy than projection. That's a tweet, if you're looking for one, right? And how do we get better at something that requires effort, right? We practice until it becomes automatic. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Chris, I'm busy, right? I work, I have a family, I see my friends. How could I possibly fit this empathy practice into my life? Great question. By redesigning workplace interactions so that the work you are already doing makes you more empathic. It's easy. Let me give you an example. Does everybody know what email is? Okay. Get out your phone, take a picture of this, or go download it later from the web link. This is a picture of what happens every time you talk to anyone about anything. Okay? When you talk to somebody, your brain sees exactly what you mean in full context, HD clarity. Okay? When I hand that memo into my boss, I can see in my mind all of the work, the effort, the canceled plans, right? I see this in my brain like it is on HD TV, which makes it really hard to remember that my boss can't see any of that, right? He can't read my mind. All he's going to get are the words that come out of my mouth, right? Literally, here's the memo, okay? If I can see what's in my mind on HD TV, my boss is at best sitting in the next room listening to me talk about it on a tin can phone, yeah? And it's the same for you whenever you talk to anyone in your life. Now, print off the picture, put it in your desk where you can see it every time you send an email. What will happen is you'll be sitting there typing the email and you'll see the photo, and it will remind you of how it felt today when you learned that the person you're about to email isn't you. They know different stuff, they care about different stuff, they are thinking about that email in a way that's different from how you're thinking about it. All right, now that realization takes 1 second. But it lays down a new neural connection in your brain. It starts to form a new habitual behavior. Okay, how many emails do you send every day? Let's say 20. If you send 20 a day, that's 100 a week, 400 a month, almost 5,000 a year. How much better will you be at something once you practice 5,000 times? Even better, you already know you can practice 5,000 times because between a year ago and today, you sent 5,000 emails. Now, there are lots of different ways you can incorporate this into your workplace. Quickly, a few other examples. One is the feelings wheel. Print this off, put it in your desk, and stare at it when you feel stuff. And it will help you realize that you don't just feel mad, you actually feel hurt. And that's causing you to be distant, which is a much easier place to have a conversation from than when you're just feeling mad. Okay, now these are active interventions. There are also like passive ergonomic type ones. We've heard a little bit about this already, right? If you sit near big windows, your office has high ceilings, or even if you surround yourself with photos of faraway places, it turns out that all of this stimulates the kind of imagination that's required for empathy. But seriously, try the email thing. It will change your life. So let's finish where we started. How can your job make you a better person? Well, you remember that conversation I had with my boss. I bet you have a version of that in your personal life, right? You talk to your partner, your kids, your friends, and you forget to remember that they can't read your mind. If you redesign your workplace along the lines that I've suggested, then every day at work, you will get better not just at talking to your boss, but to everyone in your life. Thanks.